Hi, today I am going to make an attempt at building an AI agent that will schedule my week for me based on which phase of menstrual cycle I am in. So I have a regular 28 to 29-day cycle during which in the first 7 to 14 days I have this amazing renewal of energy with which comes this feeling of wanting to accomplish things, do tasks, etc. But one thing that I notice is that this energy comes with no direction. So I end up doing so many random things. For example, deep cleaning the apartment, organizing things, running errands, and just shuffling between different activities. Of course, I do things that matter to me, but I still feel like this has no direction. And just before I know, the estrogen drops, and I'm already in my luteal phase, completely tired and exhausted. And just before period, I'm beating myself up, thinking, why haven't I done all the things that I actually wanted to do? And the cycle keeps repeating. And for a long time, I thought maybe I'm just lazy or I'm not as committed to the things that I actually want to do. But recently, I realized it's just a lack of system, and I'm not really trained to intentionally direct my energy towards the things I actually want to do. So I thought, what if I used AI to help me with that? What if I build an AI agent that's like a personal assistant that will schedule my week for me based on my cycle, so I could direct this energy intentionally towards the things that actually matter to me. So that's what we are going to do today. So the idea is pretty simple. Every Sunday, I sit down and answer a few questions about the upcoming week, like how's my energy level, where I am in my menstrual cycle, do I have to go to office that week or not, do I have social commitments that week or not, and things that I want to make space for, like painting, like learning German, reading, or even just resting and watching TV. Some of these things are non negotiable, like I work for 8 hours during the week. Yoga is a non negotiable for me, and content creation is something I want to make a default rather than something that I randomly squeeze in. And other things are more flexible, like painting, reading, learning language, etc. The idea here is to make something that's not so rigid and overwhelming, but something that will just give me a direction. So what I'm trying to do here is just build a small automation. The first piece is the Apple Shortcuts app. This is where the automation will start. Shortcuts basically act like an interface where I can answer a couple of questions, and we send those answers to somewhere else. That somewhere else is n8n, which I am running locally on my machine. n8n is a workflow automation tool, and you can think of it as a glue that connects different systems together. So the flow looks something like this. Shortcuts collects some inputs, sends them to n8n through webhook. And we may or may not use ChatGPT here. And the n8n then processes the information and then sends a response back. And once the response comes back, Shortcuts take the data and creates events directly in my calendar. So this is the plan right now, and let's see how far I can get. So I'm starting with the n8n setup. If you don't know what n8n is, it's just a basic workflow automation tool that lets you connect different systems together. I'm running n8n locally on my machine. That makes it easier for experimenting because it's free, fast, and everything stays on my computer. To run it locally, I'm using Docker image, and the Docker image that's provided by n8n. And once the setup is done, well, the setup is quite easy. You just have to follow the documentation. Once the setup is done, I start the Docker and the container starts running. And now n8n runs on the local host and listens to port 5678. It also gives me a nice interface to build workflows. So let's move on to the Shortcuts app, which honestly surprised me a lot. I always thought Shortcuts app was mainly for tiny convenience things like opening an app or setting a timer. What I did not realize was that I could actually use it to build little workflows like this. So that's what we are doing here. For example, you would see me use this option called choose from menu and a few input actions added to it to create a mini question and answer workflow. So basically, when we run this shortcut, I will have to answer a couple of prompts asking me questions like how many hours I want to work or on what day I want to go into the office, etc. And the shortcut actually stores these answers for me. Then we take those values and put them into a small JSON payload and send that over to the localhost, by which I mean to the n8n workflow running on my own machine. This is kind of wild, honestly. Apple Shortcuts behaving like a tiny front end app. I really did not expect that. All right, so once Shortcuts is ready to send data, the next step is to make sure n8n can receive it. For that, I create a webhook node, which is just an endpoint that just sits there and listens for the incoming request. So I added a webhook node and gave it a path. Now, whenever Shortcut sends a request to that address, n8n catches it and we can see the data arrive inside the workflow. So at this point, we have connected the first two pieces. Shortcuts sends the information and n8n listening and receiving it. So once we have the webhook, which is receiving the data from the shortcuts, the next step is to actually do something with it, right? For that, I added a JavaScript node in n8n. This is where we take the information that came from shortcuts, like the number of work hours, and turn it into something useful. Then the final step is to add another node called respond to webhook. This basically sends the process data back to shortcuts. So now we have the full loop. So I haven't moved from the spot for a few hours now, but I have definitely made some progress with automation. To be clear, this is my first time trying to automate something using n8n, and even the first time using n8n, and the first time using the shortcuts app to this extent. So I'll show you what I have done. Let's go. In the shortcuts workflow, I have basically created small sequence of steps to ask me questions. And those answers that we got will be packed into JSON and sent to n8n. Now, on the n8n side, I will start the workflow by clicking on execute workflow so the node starts listening. Then we go back to the shortcuts, run the shortcuts we just built and answer a few questions and send it off to n8n. That's it. Boom. Now, n8n receives the data, processes it, and sends back calendar events, which are automatically blocked in my calendar. So, if I switch to my calendar app, I can see the results right there. My work hours are all blocked. One thing that really surprised me today is the Apple Shortcuts app. I never even considered that as an app on the iPhone, but today I realized that I can actually build some complex workflows using the Shortcuts app. At the same time, I am also realizing that this is just a beginning into what I actually want to do. I actually wanted to build a full scale scheduler that will schedule my whole week for me based on my energy levels, my goals, and the things that I want to do. Yeah, so this is my first step into automation. I'm really excited to make this process even more optimized and finally get to a point where I have a scheduler that schedules my entire week. I unfortunately cannot do that in one day, even with the help of AI. So I will try to create more videos on this. I hope this is something that excites you or something that you find interesting. Stay tuned for more and please subscribe if this is something that you find interesting and you want to see more of it. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay happy and healthy. Bye.